All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get started today with the decode that I promised you, the movie Him, there are some people that are upset. And they believe, after all the years we've been on this channel, that we simply stretch things to make them fit. Look, we wouldn't be alive this long if that was the case, right? The channel wouldn't have a 98% approval rating in the thumbs up section if we were in the business of stretching things to make them fit. The patterns are well established at this point. And one thing I know for sure, here's the plot from Wikipedia. Not that Wikipedia is always correct, but I can name probably maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 13 years that we've been on YouTube where someone has come to me and said that something we were covering was incorrect in Wikipedia. Yes, Wikipedia can be incorrect, but it tends not to be because all of these entries, or many of them, are footnoted from another source. In other words, Wikipedia is simply a place where sources are gathered together. This is the plot from Snake Eyes on the night of September 10th. This was 27 years to the day before Charlie Kirk was shot. A tropical storm, which was named Jezebel, came through the city on the night of the boxing match. Now, will this always say September 10th in the plot? Who knows? Wikipedia does change from time to time, but I didn't stretch this. And the fact that they put it in here, even if you show me a screenshot that says September 19th, which, remember, it was raining, you can't really see it. It's very blurry until someone shows me an HD image of the actual title fight in the movie Snake Eyes that says September 19th, and it's crystal clear. The whole purpose of this is the division. That's the purpose of this operation. And it's clear to me now that this is also about a one world religion. There's too many things stirred into this pot. There's just too many things. Apparently, Charlie Kirk's wife was basically Catholic? Can someone confirm that? And he was attending Mass, but yet he's a Christian. There's something going on here, isn't there? Now, again, don't get caught up in the division. If channels are telling you, I know the absolute truth, and that's all there is to it, that is not a healthy standpoint to come from, because what happens is we're all wrong. None of us were there. All we're doing is feeling in the dark, trying to figure all this out. So to start attacking each other and making claims, that's not good, you guys. That's what they want. They want us all debating, oh, did Charlie truly, turn against Israel? Is he dead? Isn't he dead? Did he really turn against Israel? Didn't he? They want us all fighting about these things. That's what the whole operation is about. That's why they seeded all that into the storyline, to get us turning on each other, further dividing the truth community. You guys, we've already been through this with the whole Q movement. We've already been through this with MAGA. We've already been through this even before that with every other, artificial truth movement that comes into our world. Do you remember the days where there were no truth mega channels? There was no Joe Rogan. Alex Jones was small back then. And all of a sudden they gave us these truth mega channels who are always a little bit late to the party, aren't they? They're always just a little bit late to the party. And after the voting's already taken place, after the consent's already been given, they show up late to the party and really can't change anything because they didn't really get in front of it. So those are just some words before we get into the rest of the show. Soft rebuke, because I don't want to be up here creating more division. But look, go easy on me. I'm not up here trying to stretch things to make them fit. I did my research. September 10th was on t-shirts. Why would they put the wrong date on a movie t-shirt that came out long before the shooting happened? Why would they do that? That would be a misspelling or they must have got the information from somewhere. That's why they put September 10th on the t-shirt for the Tyler Ruiz fight from the movie Snake Eyes. Here it is in Wikipedia, and there are several other sources. And yes, when you zoom in the actual film, it kind of looks like there could be a 9 there and not a 0. But why are we going to fight about that? The intention was clear. The programming, Charles Kirkland, Tyler, the shooter, the Jezebel storm, the Jezebel witches. So let's get into the rest of the show today, because I want to really kind of double down on this movie, Him. As I promised, this is a sports horror film, and it's obviously the story of what amounts to be the Antichrist and Antichrist grooming and all of this. It kind of tells the story of how the Antichrist will rise to power, and it seems to suggest that a lot of this could go through professional sports. Gosh, could you imagine? Because think about it. Signs and miracles, calling down fire out of heaven. What if the Antichrist came down through sports? Because everybody loves sports, right? This is why they maybe brought Taylor Swift in, to get more people watching sports. Now, the other part of this is false worship. There's also an initiation ritual, and it's all centered around the idolatry of sports. You see, NFL quarterbacks, in America at least, are kind of seen as team saviors. For some reason, Americans love our NFL quarterbacks. In fact, the team in the movie is actually called the Saviors. That's the name of the team in the league. They call it the league, but it's essentially the NFL. Now, there are Christ references sprinkled throughout this film, and I will show as many as I can to you as we make our way through this decode. I've got clips of this. Now, not only are these quarterbacks depicted as saviors, but they're kind of at the top of the food chain when it comes to the devil's minions. That's how they're depicted in the film. And all of our sins are also represented in the movie America's Sin. Idolatry, gambling, lust, greed. And essentially it's a tale of two quarterbacks. There are two quarterbacks. There's one incoming quarterback, a new quarterback, the rookie. And there's one that is retiring. And the one that is retiring is coming to the end of his service to Satan. And the other one is just beginning, but he has to be initiated. So that is the plot of this film. The film begins with the up-and-coming quarterback. He's practicing at night. Interestingly, he's throwing a football at the uprights of the goalposts. And it's at this point that he is bruised in the head. Now, the Bible describes this bruising in the head in the very first prophecy of the Bible. Who gets bruised in the head? The serpent. But it's interesting because who was it? What's his name? Guy does sports. What's his name? You guys can help me out here. He looks at sports and shows how corrupt sports is and how they basically have some kind of earpiece in these guys' ears. And they basically choose the outcome of the game that benefits the house. That's what they go for. And oftentimes that involves a very narrow spread, even when you're looking at stats and both of the teams should be blowing, one team should be blowing the other one out. And instead you'll get this very tight spread. He's also the guy also covers how for some reason, there's this unprecedented, this is a YouTube channel I'm talking about. You guys know who he is. Please shout him out in a second here, as soon as you figure it out. He talks about how the impossibility of the odds of the football hitting the upright. And he calls it Return of the Doink. And he like sings, and it's actually pretty funny. And he sings Return of the Doink and basically shows clips of all of the times that the football hits the upright. And he believes there may be some kind of mechanism inside the football that's causing it to magnetically hit the upright. And a lot of his stuff makes sense. He also talks about, what is it? He says that the Jake the Snake, is that his name? Jake the Awake. Okay, thanks, Tom. Yeah, that's his name, Jake. Sorry, Jake. I just, it's been a while since I've thought about your channel. And so, yes, Jake actually shows how there could possibly be magnetics in the football and in the receiver's gloves. And he shows how the football like sticks to their gloves. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that he shows. Yeah, Jake the A-hole. That's his name. Thank you. Formerly Jake the A-hole. So he changed his name, apparently. Jake the Awake. Okay, thanks. Okay, I didn't want to butcher that. I almost did, but thanks you guys for playing cleanup hitter for me. So anyway, how does that fit into all this? Well, and I'm sure that after Jake sees this video, he's probably going to cover this, because in the movie, the quarterback literally throws the football and hits the uprights. That's his training, is to stand back and try to throw the football to hit the uprights. So there's something to this, isn't there? Let's watch. Now, after he hits the upright, it continues to vibrate. It won't stop vibrating because there's some kind of frequency. There's some kind of spiritual activity. And he notices, he walks past the uprights, and he notices that the football will not stop spinning. It's literally controlled by whatever frequency. So there's something to this, right? Jake was on to something. The football won't stop spinning, and he's looking at it. And at this point, a goat shows up behind him and hits him over the head. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to show you any gore, but if you were to watch this movie, it is full of gore. So I do not recommend this movie if you are not on the front lines of battle for truth, you know, because some of us literally have to screen all this stuff to show the people that are asleep the truth. Okay, it's almost like going in to do an exorcism, but not everybody's cut out for that, right? But some of us are. It's our job. And so that's why I screened this film. But if you are faint of heart, you do not want to watch this movie. Okay. A goat comes up behind him. Now, this is an actual fan of, who is this a fan of? The retiring quarterback. And this guy is set to take his place, but there's this whole fan club who worship the goat, the greatest of all time, which of course is doublespeak for the Baphomet. But America is so asleep, they don't even get it. We're so divided that the people who are asleep literally think that we're making all this up about the goat being the Baphomet. And they go, oh no, that just means the greatest of all time. Completely asleep, even when they watch a film like this about the greatest of all time being and worshiping the devil. They still don't get it. And I pray that they do, because this is America's sin. Let's keep watching. So the fan hits him over the head, and he gets this scar, which looks like the laces on the football, but it's on his head. He's bruised in the head, just like the first prophecy of the Bible. Now, at this point, the new quarterback is invited to train at the retiring quarterback's training camp. Now, why would he do that? Well, look at the chemtrails in the air here. He's going out in the training camps out in the middle of the desert. Now, why would the old retiring quarterback invite the new quarterback to train? Well, the devil requires this. Because he trains him, the devil tells him to train the new quarterback, but then the retiring quarterback has the ability to challenge the new player for dominance. And if he loses, it means his life. But if he wins, he gets to keep playing. Now, the camp is surrounded by diehard fans of the old quarterback, similar to the goat that you just saw that hit the new quarterback in the head. And they literally are dressed up as goats. Watch. Now, they hate the new quarterback because they worship the old quarterback. So they're basically spitting on his window and everything. It's all part of the initiation, you guys. The new quarterback has to get the people to love him, right? Now, one of the first, he enters the training facility, and it is full of the occult. One thing I noticed was the double arches and the black hole sun wall lamp. Black hole sun. Let's keep watching here.
Hello?
So he meets the retiring quarterback, which is this guy. What's his name? Let me give you his name. It's one of the Wayans brothers, I believe. Let me get his name here. Yeah, it's Marlon Wayans. So Marlon Wayans is the retiring quarterback. And he's in here basically in this lair of goat heads and crucifying nails and all this other crazy stuff. Let's keep watching here. Now remember, let's think about the Bible and how this all fits in, okay? Why is the goat so important in the Bible? Well, because the goat is what was sacrificed for our sins when we were in the Old Testament. Because there was no Jesus yet. So the goat was sacrificed. It was a sacrificial goat. This is why the devil uses the goat as his symbol. Then Jesus came, and he became the last sacrifice for our sins, which is why we're all living in grace right now. Otherwise, we'd all be dead from our judgment, wouldn't we? If we were dealing directly with God right now, we would all be judged and dead for our sin. Or we would have to sacrifice animals still for our sins. But instead, we are alive through Jesus' grace. So this is the juxtaposition. It's the devil versus Jesus. Let's keep watching here.
Oh, welcome. Man, great meeting you. That game against State,
You saw that?
got an arm like a cannon.
You killed that yourself?
He's, excuse
Goat heads and everything. It's like, so this guy's, and the new quarterback's like, whoa, this is creepy.
the mess. I like to live off the land while I'm out here, you know, real high. Great, wait. And don't forget, have fun. It's already dead. Want that
So there's the crucifying nails. That's obviously what that's a reference to.
right there? Okay. Ready? I want you to smash that down. Like a...
Now, at this point, here's where things go off the rails as the new quarterback starts to sense that something is not right. He's sitting in an ice bath, and he starts to see strange things. He sees the retiring quarterback transfusing his own blood. But really, it's not his own blood at all. It's probably adrenochrome. Now, how do I know this? Well, the new quarterback, there's a metaphor. What is it? A plate of fruit. Now, we know that fruit means children. Let's watch.
Whoa, what the fuck?
My blood oxygen is good right now.
Oh shit, thank you. All this foreign ass fruit.
Lychee. It's very common.
I like to save this blood for rainy days. You know, if I'm like hungover or tired and want to train extra hard. Auto transfusion. Higher the count, the more I can push my body.
Now, he calls it an auto transfusion, which means transfusing your own blood, but really it's blood from somewhere else. And you'll see that a little bit later on in the decode here. It's actually blood, ancient blood. Now, this is everything we've been talking about, you guys. We've been talking about this ancient blood, this ancient DNA that they keep taking in and drinking, and also the adrenochrome. And this is how these people, the spirit transfers, because the Bible says the life is in the blood. So that's how the spirit transfer happens.
Especially endurance.
Is that like, I don't know, legal?
You want to hit?
No, I'm good.
Then we always get, right, the black baptism. So, and remember, for everything good, there's something dark. So Jesus says, be baptized, believe in the Lord, you shall be saved, repent. Well, in this movie, it's all about do what you want, do what thou wilt, do as much sin as you can. Here, there's obviously a black baptism. Watch. And the allegiance is to the devil. Now, at this point, the trainer jabs him with the black blood just before that black baptism. So that's basically how he, basically was first initiated. That was the first step. And then at this point, one of the fanatic fans sneaks into the sauna to try to kill the new quarterback because she's like freaked out. She does not want the new quarterback to become the one she worships.
I used to think it was a blessing.
What's it like being the GOAT?
And now, I realize what's the use of having it? One day you have to give it all up.
So this is the fanatic who sneaks in to the sauna. And I don't show her here because she's so creepy. I just cut her face off here, but she's basically like a clown, okay? Her mascara is all run down, and as you can see, her lips, it's all clown makeup. If you hadn't figured it out by now, the clowns are demons. And she's wearing a Savior's jersey, and the color is pink adrenochrome, in case you had any questions. In your face, you guys. Now, at this point, both the quarterbacks go out target hunting, and the retiring quarterback is completely hazing the new guy. He's using fear. He's scaring him. He's pretending to be nice, but he's really just gaslighting him pretty much throughout the whole movie. It's very uncomfortable for the new quarterback. He doesn't quite know what's going on, but the retiring quarterback basically leads him down a line of humiliation and hazing to try to manipulate him into doing something really bad, and that's murder and something he can never come back from. So they're out here target hunting, and this is when I realized that the initials quarterback, QB, they add up to the number 19. Watch. "19 is QB. Q is 17. B is 2. That's 19. Now, at this point, we see the Last Supper. As he's surrounded by all the executives and the sports figures, the whores, everything. They're all at this table, and it becomes like the Last Supper. There may even be 12 here, plus Jesus. And he's like he's the Antichrist, right? And above him, you see the sigil of Satan. That's what these cross-hatched images are up here. It's a variation of it. You'll see this repeated a little bit later in the decode.
This is a huge sacrifice, and it's not really worth it.
Now, this woman is the retiring quarterback's wife, and she's always wearing these, well, in this instance, she's wearing the glittering diamond dress. This is all very satanic. And she's basically telling the new quarterback, you don't have to do this. just because your Father wants you to do it. Essentially, it's the temptation of Christ. She's tempting him not to go through with the crucifixion, right? And listen to what she says, because this is exactly what the devil probably said to Jesus. Don't do this unless your heart's in it. Don't do this just for your Father. Listen.
This is a huge sacrifice, and it's not really worth it if your heart's not in it. So. And I know that you want to make your dad proud, but you can't kill yourself for him.
You can't kill yourself for him. So that's an obvious direct reference to the crucifixion.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Now, let's back this up, because many of you probably saw this. My sleuths out there. And let's look at this scene in its entirety. What are we really looking at here? What are we really looking at here? Well, these are the weights, all right? It's all metal. You've got a bar going across. You could almost see the crucifixion scene here. These could be the nails that crucified Jesus, all right? The bars, the crossbars. Bit of a stretch, I'll admit, in this case, but there's something about this scene here and why they're in the weight room and he's pushing iron, right? And then you've got the crossbar. This one has no weights on it. Let's see if there's anything over there. That's just like 20, 10, and 35. I think is what those weights say there. Anyway, let me check in with you guys, and then we're going to finish this up, and then we're going to get into some headlines, because there's a little bit more to this. So she's obviously tempting him. Now, the next scene, no weights on her side. Oh, good job, Pierce. Yeah. That's a great observation. No weights on her side. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, at this point, she takes him to a bar called Recreation instead of just Creation. Watch.
If your heart's not in it. So. And I know that you want to make your dad proud, but you can't kill yourself for him. Are you sure you want to do this?
Now here's the bar. It's called Recreation, and the R is like tilted. So this obviously is the devil trying to remake this world in his image, the recreation. You could also say in this weight scene that he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's pushing up the whole weight of the world on his shoulders. Let's go back here. Let's take a look here. Now they go into this bar, and this is where the deal is done. The deal for him to sell his soul. And basically, he has to partake of the wine. Just like Jesus said, this is my body, this is my blood. And he broke the bread, the unleavened bread. And of course, the wine became his blood. These were symbols. He said, keep doing this and to remember me. Let's watch.
I thought you said it was a party. What did you mean by rituals?
Let's back that up. There's another sigil of Satan up here. It's the XX. And that's what the sigil of Satan looks like. They go into the bar, Recreation. Now listen to what, this is his, his promoter. Listen to what he says. He directly references the Bible here.
At first, he said, after taking a sip of wine, he said, it is finished. Jesus.
He said, take the wine, it is finished. And then he says, Jesus said this. Let's play that back. It's kind of hard to hear with the music in the background.
At first, he said, after taking a sip of wine, he said, it is finished. Jesus said that. Wow, okay.
So he takes the wine, he acts it out, and partakes of the wine.
Here's to you.
So Everything's in order, isn't it? The baptism, the now the Passover, the Last Supper, taking of the wine. Now at this point, we see the false Christianity, right? All the idolatry, the materialism. You're going to see checkerboard floors. Watch. Now, at this point, he's led to this room for the final confrontation against the retiring quarterback. It's like the dueling pit. And here he learns the ultimate truth, and he has to make a decision that essentially he's like the next Antichrist. And inside this dueling pit is an all-seeing eye, except all of the fans are looking at him in the shape of this eye. This is the iris. This is the pit leading everyone down to the pit. I mean, that's about the only way you can slice this. And they talk about the energy that they feel from the crowds. I know a long time ago we started decoding some of these football stadiums, remember? Remember those videos from 2013, 2014? And we found that a lot of these football stadiums were on ley lines. Remember that? Very distinct ley lines that we had found. In fact, we found a giant pentagram covering the United States. All the ley lines we put together, and there was a giant inverted pentagram across the United States. That was in 2012, and we called that series The Lines of Death. And we're like, how can this be? How can many of these stadiums that people go, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people go to watch these football games, how could it be that they were on these ley lines of death where human sacrifice was happening in ancient times? Well, I guess we're all going to see, probably. And so, here we go. Let's watch.
Isn't that powerful?
He said it's powerful. And of course, there's all these sigils. I believe that these are, what do they call, metaphysical sigils here. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Squares inside circles, inside triangles, and all of that. This is like, I think this is like metaphysical sigils or something. Anyway, they're inside this place, and this is the final duel. They're about to duel to the death.
I thought you said you was willing to sacrifice everything. So you've been giving your blood on some weird white people shit? Well, actually, his blood. The one before me.
So the truth comes out. They've been taking in the blood of the ancients to continue the bloodline. That's really what they're talking about. The continuation of the bloodline. And look at who he pointed to. Quarterback number 31. This just so happened to be Charlie Kirk's age when he died, allegedly. And this is who he took the crown from. Wow. Unbelievable.
So there can only be one.
Then we hear there can be only one. And you all know where you've heard that from. Highlander. There can be only one. Now, remember the scene? Let me check in with you guys. And I'm going to show you the scene from Highlander because we covered that too, didn't we? In Scotland. It's interesting that they are redoing the Highlander movie now. It's being filmed as we speak. The guy from Superman is going to be the Highlander. The guy who played the Man of Steel. The Man of Steel, Charlie Kirk, number 31, 31 years old. You can't make any of this up. Let's show you guys everything. New Highlander movie. Who's playing it? The Man of Steel. We live in a matrix. Let's find it. Let's go here. Images. The Man of Steel. Now, he just broke his leg or something. He was bruised in the leg. Charlie Kirk was bruised in the head. Wow. Now, what else? There can be only one. Where did he speak those words? Highlander scene in, gosh, what was that place? Round room. See if they show us images of that. Highlander scene in round room. Kind of reminds me, oh, here it is. Wow. Just wow. Matrix is a strange place, you guys. It is a strange place. This room kind of matches, let's use this image here. Kind of matches the round room that we see in, let's go through these images here. 1986. Kind of matches the round room in the movie Him. It's the duel. And he said there can be only one. Here's the room. We decoded this room, remember? Clan MacLeod. Trump's mother's maiden name. We did a whole playlist series on Highlander connecting it to Trump. The guy who wrote the Highlander book came to Trump Tower. Trump signed his book, shook his hand. Trump also has a knight. He was like knighted in Scotland because remember, Trump's mother's from Scotland. Clan MacLeod, Connor MacLeod. There can be only one. We also found that on the flag in the movie on the wall, it matched the Clan MacLeod flag. And I believe he may have said when he was in this room, there can be only one. So this is the magic circle. Let's keep watching.
So there can only be one. Bingo.
So think about it. All the jerseys on the wall, that's similar to the flags on the wall in Highlander. The clan flags that were on the wall, right?
See, and they said it's just been around since the beginning of the league. Whoever has it is the chosen one.
I am the chosen one, Trump said. Times are getting very weird, you guys. More checkerboard floors. The two quarterbacks duel. And the new quarterback emerges as the champion. He kills Marlon Wayans. And then he emerges through the portal. And what are they singing? The national anthem. Watch. I wish I was making all this up, but of course I'm not. They're literally telling you the truth in plain sight. You're also seeing a crucifixion here again. You got the two thieves. You got the thief on this cross. That looks like a meat pole, right? I don't know what a meat pole looks like. And there's another one over there. And then there's a cross in the middle formed by this cross member going up and coming down. I couldn't figure out what this image means. This archetype. It looks like an explorer of some kind. That hat looks like maybe a Spanish explorer. I don't know, but this is common thread throughout this. We also see the wall behind him. And there's something to that as well. Trump's wall.
Now, sign the contract to receive the gifts.
He then tells him to sign basically the blood oath. And he refuses. And at the end of the movie, he literally just kills everybody because he does not want to sign the blood oath. But before he kills them, he learns that they were grooming him from the beginning, from when he was a little boy. He was a targeted individual. Let's take a look.
Okay? We attacked you to isolate you so that we could draft you. You think you earned this? Huh? No, we groomed you since you were a child.
Wow. Blown away, right? These are the movies now that they're putting out. They're literally telling us why, because there will be no excuses when Jesus comes back. He'll be like, they put it in the movies. They showed you exactly who they were, and you still worshiped them. So what do you guys, let me get your thoughts on this, and we'll get caught up on some of these headlines before we end the show today. A lot of stories to get caught up on today. I keep pushing them back because so much stuff is happening. But yeah. Now, we need to talk about gold. No, I'm not going to sell you gold. Yeah, everyone's like, wait, you guys are like holding your breath. Wow, you need to sign up for Noble Gold, and you need to... No. We do not do this on this channel. Why? Because the Bible explicitly tells us that we're not to store up gold and silver. That it tells us also that a rich man will be harder for a rich man to get to heaven. It's like the hardest thing for anybody to do if you're rich. It also tells us the idols of gold and silver have eyes but cannot see, and they have ears but cannot hear. So we do not sell gold or silver. Our treasure is in heaven, right? These are basic biblical principles, but yet we've got these Christians storing up gold and silver. I don't understand it. God help them. God help them. Why are we going to talk about gold? Well, because, yes, wow, Gene Spliced is awake. Good job. Gold, Aurum. Good job. You are absolutely correct. We're going to talk about Au, Aurum, which is the gold in the periodic table of elements. Well, we'll get to that. First, we got to talk about Trump finally starting to skirt the idea that childhood smack the nation schedule could be what's damaging children. And of course, he's going to offer drugs to treat the symptoms. So the two are going to happen concurrently. He's offering a new drug treatment for autism. And today we're going to learn about some of these health updates in America. Let's start with Trump on Air Force One. Now, this was from a couple days ago, so my apologies again. But again, we're trying to get caught up here. Let's listen.
Vaccines are very interesting. They can be great, but when you put the wrong stuff in them, and you know, children get these massive vaccines like you'd give to a horse. And I've said for a long time, I mean, this is no secret, spread them out over 5 years. Get 5 shots, small ones. Did you ever see what they give? They give, I mean, for a little baby to be injected with that much fluid, even beyond the actual ingredients. They have sometimes 80 different vaccines in them. It's crazy. It's you know, that's a common sense thing too. It's like you're shooting up a horse. You have a little body, a little baby, and you're pumping this big thing. It's a horrible thing. So I've always felt that. But we'll be having a big discussion tomorrow about autism.
So he's finally starting to come clean, but it might be too little too late. And of course, he has the answer. A new autism drug. Let's listen.
I think we found an answer to autism. How about that? Autism. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking in the Oval Office in the White House about autism, how it happens, so we won't let it happen anymore.
The false savior, the false cure. Wow. It's telling us some truth. Meanwhile, we're supposed to overlook the sin that we all know happened with Trump and Epstein. More sin that we are overlooking. Wow. Now, all of this just in time. So they found the cure, they found treatment, now they've got a Trump RX website where citizens can buy meds directly from the pharma companies. He's got all the answers, right? He's got all the answers. Considering setting up a government-run website that would help Americans buy cheaper meds directly from the pharmaceutical companies. Now, about 6 months ago, I saved this image as my screensaver. Many of you have seen it anytime I open up a new tab. This is from the 1939 World's Fair, which they called the World of Tomorrow. Tomorrowland, the movie, was based off of this 1939 World's Fair. And this billboard is a very real billboard. It was immortalized in the Queen's Chronicle. It's one of the only references that we have that we can find this billboard, this vintage image from 1939. Queens and Kings, the Queen's Chronicle, because this was in Queens, New York, where Trump is from. Corona Park, Flushing Meadows. Now, this billboard, of course, was made before Trump was born. This was commissioned by Trump's father before he was born. The home of tomorrow, this says. 6,000 people live in Trump homes, and there you see the RX, prescriptions, stylized in the name Trump Homes. And I told you a few years ago when we discovered this, that this would be all about prescriptions. And here we are. Now, we broke this down because we also saw that there was a very familiar billboard that appeared to be a metaphor for this billboard. What was the billboard? Well, this billboard is from Back to the Future. Lion Estates, live in the home of tomorrow. It says almost the same thing. Live in Trump Homes, the home of tomorrow. How can this be? Well, the makers of Back to the Future said that Biff was fashioned after Donald Trump. 88 miles an hour, Back to the Future. So, 1939 World's Fair, 1986, I believe, was Back to the Future, and where this billboard appeared. Now, the billboard appeared in 2 Back to the Future films. We broke all that down in decodes. You can search the channel and find those decodes if you're interested, but I'm not going to belabor the point. What I wanted to show you, though, was that this whole prescription thing has come full circle. Full circle. Time travel. Crazy, you guys, just crazy. Now, Trump has made some claims, and he basically said that there's no autism in Cuba. Let's listen to this here. Let's listen to his own words.
And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
So where was all this when the states were forcing people to get the smack the nation during the spamdemic? That's what I'd like to know, because we were screaming from the rooftops, you can't force people to take something that you don't know anything about. We need some protections. There should have been executive orders protecting people like us, saying you cannot be fired from your job, you cannot be discriminated against in any way, shape, or form. The economy should have never been shut down. The people that they were needing to protect should have just protected themselves. But look what we just went through. And he's actually right about these countries. Now, it's not that there's absolutely no autism in Cuba, but the rates are very, very low. But the argument is now being made, oh, it's because we don't have the resources to identify autism. That's why it looks like it's low. They said the same thing in Africa when the African countries refused to smack the nation during the spamdemic. And their rates of death were so low that it was barely above what you would see in a normal flu season. So they're like, oh, that's just because we didn't have the resources to truly count the death. Well, don't you think the people that live there would be looking around them going, oh, John's gone, Keith's gone. Of course, there's probably nobody named Keith or John in Africa, but you know what I'm getting at. If there was this huge die-off of people, we would know, wouldn't we? But instead, they refused, and there wasn't this widespread death that we were promised was going to happen here in America unless we all took it.
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance.
So I'll put a link to this story. Now, this all sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds good. And you know what? If Trump was a true, repentant, born-again Christian, and there wasn't all this gold everywhere that he's added to the White House, and if he didn't have the Apollo penthouse on the 66th floor, and if his many films, dark, evil films, weren't filmed inside of his buildings, if Trump World Tower did not appear in the Smurfs movie when Gargamel Magagrell was released from prison, if Trump Tower did not appear in the Smurfs movie when the Smurfs came through the portal, you look up and there's Trump Tower. If Trump Tower didn't appear in the movie The Happening when the original signal came through and you look up and there's Trump Tower. If Trump Tower did not appear in The Devil's Advocate, if the Trump buildings did not appear in The Dark Knight Rises, if none of that was true, if we didn't see all the symbolism surrounding Highlander, There Can Be Only One, Clan MacLeod, Connor MacLeod, if his grandmother didn't die on 666, yes, she died on June 6, 1966, Mary Christ Trump, if all that was not happening, then I might believe his intentions were good with the vaccine thing. But unfortunately, all that what I said was true. And all the other synchronicities, the man named Trump in the 1958 Western tracked down who built a wall, literally in the episode, and sold umbrellas to save people from the end of the world. Umbrellas, of course, are code for hypodermic needles. They have the same exact part on them called a ferrule. It's the neck that goes around the hypodermic needle. It's called a ferrule, and there's also the ferrule in an umbrella. Now, that just scratches the surface. The materialism of America is at an all-time high. I've never seen anything like it. The rich are basking in their wealth, while the poor and underclass are getting nickeled and dimed out of existence. Everything has gone up in price. We have oligarchs running the country with Trump. The materialism is through the roof. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. And that's what brings us to gold. Because there's one glaring thing that I noticed about gold. Gold is from the word aurum, which means shining or shining one. Aurum. This is why Au is what gold is called on the periodic table of elements. Aurum also means dawn. The dawn, which is why the word aurora has AU in it. The shining dawn. Atomic number 79, which just so happens to be Trump's age right now. He is the shining one, the first gold president. And as a manifestation of his role, this is why he's building the ballroom. This is why he's decked out the White House in gold for the first time in presidential history. He is the AU, and this is likely why he's pretending to solve autism, which also starts with AU. Now, why would they name autism after gold? I'm not quite sure what the answer is to that. Couldn't really find the roots of where the etymology of the word autism came from. There's all this gobbledygook and, psychological stuff, but they don't tell you where the root of the word came from. Where did autism come from? The root of it. It's obviously a modern phenomenon, isn't it? So, we'll dig into that at some point, but there has to be a connection between autism and Aurum, gold, the dawn, the shining one, and Trump pretending to solve it. There has to be something to that, a connection. Now, let's get into some other topics. The job market is in the toilet, and everybody knows it, but the leadership is in denial. If you've had to look for a job lately, you've realized that there are scams, there is silent rejection. It's almost as if the jobs don't really exist at all. In this story, talks about people that are perfectly qualified, master's degrees, applying for hundreds of jobs. Do you know how long it takes to fill out a job application? Now, I went through a little bit of this back when I was in my career. I've since dedicated my life to truth, took a huge pay cut, had my income cut in fourths compared to what I used to make in my career as a pharmaceutical rep. Why do you think I turned my back on that? But guess what? All work isn't good work. And I'd rather be exposing all this stuff every day, working for the Most High to help people wake up, because my treasure is in heaven, right? This particular individual put in 400 job applications. They barely get a call back. It can take 30 minutes to an hour to fill out job applications online. So imagine all the time these people have put into this, only to realize that they're now getting increased scam calls. They're going down empty leads that go to nowhere. In some cases, they're talking to an artificial intelligence that's screening them. People are literally saying the whole system is rigged, that these jobs aren't real. How about we fix this? How about we fix this? Let me check in with you guys and we'll finish up with these stories. Now, the Epstein files, let's get caught up on that. Now, feel free to share your experiences, because we're not just making all this up. Many of you have gone through this, you're looking for jobs, and you're experiencing exactly what I just told you, but no one wants to talk about this. And when I say nobody, I'm talking about the mainstream media, I'm talking about our leaders, our public officials. It's almost like they want to pretend it doesn't exist. Now, people are upset about Epstein and Trump. They're not going to let this die. And for at least 24 hours, there was a mysterious statue put up of Epstein and Trump holding hands in front of the Capitol. Let's see if we can find it here. Let's see here. Now, they've since had this taken down. Here it is, you guys. Epstein and Trump in front of the Capitol here. Look at it. It's got the love in honor of Friendship Month. And they've got the heart-shaped symbol of the two and together on the two pillars. Wow. People are not letting this go away, and rightfully so. Don't give in to, oh, this is all just a distraction. No, this This is our sin. It's a mirror. And if we allow it to just get swept under the rug, then this sinful nation there will be repercussions spiritually, won't there? Now, if it isn't clear by now, Trump is behind this fear and intimidation against the survivors to hide the truth. He's been scrambling to sway the Republicans because they now have the votes to release the file. This is supposed to happen within days, of course. She's happy about this. We'll see how all this shakes out. I believe we'll probably be given a sanitized version of all this. Trump's already gone through and scrubbed the files. Top GOP and White House allies working behind the scenes to prevent the Epstein vote on the House floor. And then it actually did pass. This Epstein investigator was taped admitting Trump covered up the files already. Let's listen.
Department says that while Trump may not have been present during the crimes that Prager investigated, it is clear that Trump is, quote, protecting a lot of people.
I don't know what's new that I have never seen that he's so hesitant to now show what's going on, and releasing all those files and stuff like that. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there, but he's protecting a lot of people.
The citizen.
He's protecting people, they say. Now, he was in there too. The files already had his name removed. We know that because Bomdi spilled the beans. And the stories early on were that they were looking for Trump's name in the files so that they could have them removed. So, how much longer is this going to go on? Is my questions. How much longer do we have to endure the lies? How much longer do we have to endure the distractions from the truth? Now, here's what's going on. Be careful what you say online. Texas man charged with terroristic threat against Charlie Kirk. How did they find him? Well, they tell you right here. Now, I'm not condoning the threats here. What I'm saying is we now have surveillance on all social media platforms. It's been going on for a long time, but now they're just telling us about it. And they're saying that, let's see here. Let's look at the mechanism because they actually tell you who found it. The comments were flagged by the Southwest Texas Fusion Center, an interagency intelligence hub ran by the San Antonio Police Department, and were relayed to the University of Texas at San Antonio Police Department. So they are working with the oligarchs to scrub all of social media. Now, what this boy said was just dumb. He literally made a threat. Again, I'm not condoning the threat. The story here is that they are watching. They're going into your social media, looking at your private messages and everything else. And so that's what's going on. Let me go back into the chat. That's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys today. Now, we will likely be live again on Sunday. But then next week, we're going to mix things up a bit because I'll be traveling. We'll be doing a re-upload of the series, a series of decodes that I've done on TV series over the years. And starting on Monday will be The Fall of the House of Usher, which of course is based off of a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. And it's a 3-part series of that TV series. And it's very telling because a lot of things that happened in that TV series are happening right now. And so I might not be uploading every single day like I've been doing. I just need a break, you guys. I'm exhausted after 13 years of almost no break. It's time for me to spend some time with my family and my children, but I will be uploading at least 3 times a week, likely 3 or 4 times a week. And so there will be content here, and I will be in the chat on many of those days with you. And some of you like those shows better because I'm actually in the chat with you. So, those are scheduled to upload. So if you see the scheduled upload, that's what it's about. It's about, replaying some of these series. Now, what other series are we going to be re-uploading? Well, there was a sci-fi series called Continuum, so there'll be some of that. Of course, Fall of the House of Usher, and many of you liked the Decode series we did on The 100, which was a sci-fi series about a group of teenagers that are basically locked in orbit and they cannot return to Earth because there was some kind of nuclear war. And they finally basically fall like fallen angels. Instead of the 200 falling to Mount Hermon, it's the 100 that fall. And in that Decode series, we literally found the snake venom as the cure. The snake venom as the cure, which we all know what that was. And that was in the 100, long before it ever happened. So I'm excited to be able to re-upload those. A lot of work went into them, and they weren't seen by a lot of people because the channel was much smaller. So if you're new to the channel, this will be new content for you. So, okay, now I'm finally back in the chat. Enough of my monologue. What's going on with you guys? You deserve a break today. As long as it's not at McDonald's, right? You deserve a break today. Okay, what else is going on here? The 3% on Netflix is crazy. Yeah, I think I decoded that. I think I decoded 3%. Isn't there Gila Monster Venom? Yes, that's exactly what they are. It's Gila Monster Venom. So basically, we've convinced the world now that it's okay to inject reptilian DNA into our bodies. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do some fishing. I'm going to do some fishing in the Pacific Ocean, which I miss that. It's one thing I really miss. Being out here in Arkansas, there's no ocean. There's a huge lake, no ocean. Sarah said, I was just going to say McDonald's. James Bly says, I like those rants and monologues. Telling it straight. Can you believe all of the connections to the movie Him and The Highlander? That was insane. Now, I wasn't even expecting that. That wasn't in my show notes, you guys. When I looked at the room, I was like, whoa, that's the Highlander room, and the jerseys and the flags on the walls, and there could be only one, and the bloodline. And remember, the whole Highlander lore was all about continuing the bloodline down through time, possessing one body after another. Exactly what we said. There is no time travel. Time travel is demon possession. The demons hopping bodies down through time. There can be only one. Wow. So, the inverse of job is Bosch, can be pronounced as badge. Yep. And then what does a badge have? It has a pin, doesn't it? It has a sticker. A pin that pins. I remember this because back when we were in school, remember they'd pin these badges on us, and sometimes the teacher would stab you by accident. Remember this? You get stabbed in the chest by a pin from your badge. No, I do not surf. No, I have not, never surfed. Me and the ocean don't mix. Me and water don't mix. I don't know what it is, but every time I get in a large body of water, I almost drown. So I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Yeah, I've almost drowned like 3 times in my life. Something about water. Me and water don't mix. Okay, let's see here. The band Emerson Drive has a song. Erica Kirk. What? Band Emerson Drive has a song with Erica Kirk. Okay, and the guy who made the song name is Tyler Robert. What? Just like the name of the. Are you kidding me? Song name is She's My Kind of Crazy. Shooting date appears on minute 2:34. Are you kidding me? Emerson Drive. Is that all real? Somebody please confirm that. That's insane. If that's real. Oh, man. Strange times, you guys. Very, very strange times. I'm familiar with Emerson Drive. They're from out west in Canada. I do not do well with water either, says Artisanos Lisa. And it's crazy because I love the water. You guys want to hear my drowning stories? Oh my gosh. So when I was in France, I almost drowned, in case you didn't know. Some of you know the story, but others don't. I was out a canoe out on a lake, and the the lake went out into the ocean, or into the lake in the back of Mark's house where I was staying on and off because I was doing house sitting over there for Mark. For those of you new to the channel, you won't know the story, but I was in France for almost 2 years, and back in 2018, 2019. And a subscriber named Mark approached me and said, hey, do you want to do house sitting at these properties? Just pay me for the utilities and you could stay there and just maintain the property. I'm like, absolutely. So that's when I went to France. Okay. So back then I gave Mark my whole YouTube check, which was $350 a month. Yes, I was on YouTube making videos and only with an income of $350 a month. That's how you know my heart's in the right place. Okay. People don't just put up content, you know, just to put up content unless they feel like they can make an income or a living out of it. Right. So I gave Mark my whole YouTube income, $350 a month. And I think he let me keep like 100 euros a month. And I use that for fuel and groceries. And I raised chickens and all that. Many of you remember that time on the channel. We were much smaller back then. And I think at that time I lost my main channel, which is the channel we're on now, but I lost it for like a year. And then I got it back miraculously. Got the channel back, and that's the channel we're on now. But we were on the backup channel, I think, during that time or something. Anyway, long story short, I was out on the lake, had the canoe. Canoe went out in the water. I did not put on my life vest. I thought I could swim to the canoe. Started to swim to the canoe, and I was out in the middle of the lake, and the wind was blowing the canoe out further into the lake. So I started swimming back to the shore, and I almost drowned. Then another time I almost drowned was on this lake that I live on. I'm not going to tell you the name of the lake, but out by myself again on a boat. This time I had a motor. I thought, oh, I've got a motor now. And I did. Did I have life vests with me? I don't even think I had life vests on the boat. I hit the throttle on this little dinghy. It was a little dinghy. And I went to pull the ripcord, but the throttle was turned full on, and it literally popped a wheelie and threw me off of the back of the dinghy. And it was 100 yards to shore. Now I know that sounds easy, and people are like, you should have just floated. Well, it's just easier said than done. Easier said than done to float, you know, and try to swim. And the throttle was stuck, and so the boat like motored away from me, so I couldn't swim to the boat. And then miraculously, and I think this was the hand of God, the fishing line got caught up in the prop of the boat, and it turned the prop off. So the boat was the closest thing, but the wind was blowing, and it was blowing the boat away from me. So I started to swim. Now, since then, just so you know, I'm not going to drown. I did buy a great life vest that I've now vowed to always wear, even when I'm not in any danger. Anytime I'm near any body of water, I will be wearing a life vest from now on. But before this, I didn't really believe in life vests. But now I think it's, you know, because 3 times is a charm. You know, I've had 2 chances. The Lord's given me 2 chances. Casey, you need to wear your life vest. Okay, I will now wear a life vest. Fine. So so there's all these things floating in the water, because remember, I had been thrown off the back of this dinghy, and the boat stopped, and I grabbed something. I can't remember even what it was. It might have been a net or something I thought I could save. I lost my phone, and I started swimming and I had my shoes on and everything. It's hard to swim with shoes on. Start swimming toward the boat. I get to the boat, and I made it. And then I pulled the boat to shore, and I made it back okay that time. But yeah, so yeah, the water's no joke. And then you hear these stories of Malcolm Jamal Warner dying almost the same way. Yeah, not a big fan of water. So now all my fishing is shore fishing. I fish from the shore. Me and boats don't mix. So, all right. What else, you guys? Okay. Yep, you're not supposed to get in the water alone. I know, Marcy. That's another mistake I make. Swim alone. You can't do that. It's not good. Yeah, and I've always had this weird, like, phobia of dark water. Maybe that's a spiritual thing, right? I've had this phobia of dark water. Water that I can't see through, that I can't see underneath me. Just feels weird, right? So, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Look, they tried to hide your comment, Mike D. Wow. All right. Which Highlander movie is starring who? That would be the Man of Steel, the guy who played Superman. Henry Cavill is starring in the new Highlander movie. They're filming it right now. Okay. Carrie was hospitalized in an ambulance after drowning in a hot tub. Fell asleep. Oh my gosh. What a nightmare. I can't even imagine. Some of you are creeped out by dark water. Yeah, it's the swamp. It's the Agam. What are you talking about, Casey? Agam is a dark pool. And it's also MAGA backwards. Yep. Maybe it's all spiritual. There are things that happen in our life, and when you look back, it all makes sense if you open your mind to spiritual synchronicity. And what are we battling? We are battling dark waters, the swamp. Okay. Why do I like the Logan Run movie? That's because the movie is happening now. I mean, you guys, we're on the precipice of that movie. Trump is going to build a dome, a golden dome. Now, we were the first ones to say, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm telling you this because the Holy Spirit should get credit when it's trying to warn God's people. And when the Iron Dome was being talked about, I said, you know what? And Trump first mentioned that he was going to do a defense dome. He did not call it a golden dome at first. That came later. That came after we said, oh, he'll probably rename it the Golden Dome. And then sure enough, months later, after we said that, he started naming it the Golden Dome. And Logan's Run is all about a dome. But the price, the cost of the dome, the cost of the safety of living under the dome was a thing called the carousel. Now, where are there carousels? There are carousels at theme parks with clowns, aren't there? There are carousels at theme parks with clowns. In fact, some carousels have clowns on them. So we are going to be under the dome in the carousel with the clowns, spinning round and round. And in the movie Logan's Run, they call it the carousel. It is the carousel of sacrifice. Because I can't remember how old they were. Let's look it up. How old were people in Logan's Run when they went to the if it's 31, I'm going to fall out of my chair. Somebody knows the answer to this. 21. In the film Logan's Run, people went to the carousel when they reached the age of 30. The age of 30. Whoa. However, in the original book, the age was 21. That's creepy. So, sacrifice was required. And believe it or not, the same applies. This is why there was a pandemic. It was a sacrifice. This is why there was a quote-unquote cure. Okay? This is why there's war, fake wars. It's all human sacrifice. Sacrifice is required. Now, Logan, in the movie Logan's Run, he made it outside of the dome to sanctuary, they called it. He got outside the dome because remember the lie was, oh, it's so dangerous outside the dome. We protect you in here. We have civilization and safety. All you have to do is play. All you have to do is join our wars. All you have to do is take our cures. Right? And notice how COVID was detrimental to older people. And in fact, we just did a decode on the film The Invasion, and we found that people who had compromised, what was it called? It was the STEP. And it was in individuals with compromised immune systems or something like that. Remember that? Or compromised kidney function. Those were the ones who came down with it. So it was like targeted to older people, right? And of course, the whole treatment protocol and all that, the rest is history. And that's all I can say about that. But essentially, that was the carousel. It was the carousel in Logan's Run. It's their pound of flesh. And in the movie, the fear was that it was so dangerous outside of the dome, right? But really, it wasn't. It wasn't dangerous at all. It was nature. It was completely peaceful. But the machine did everything in their power to put people in fear, didn't they? So they would stay in the dome. So that's why Logan's Run is one of my favorite movies, because it was so forward thinking of what it would be like in the end times. Literally countries talking about putting a dome over their country. So crazy, right? The Ferris wheel, the feral wheel, exactly. The needle wheel. So, all right, guys, we've been on here long enough. What a long show today. I love each and every one of you. Thanks for sticking it out. These are my favorite parts of the show at the end when we get to talk about all this stuff. So I love each and every one of you, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.